Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into what it's really like raising children as a foreign parent in Vietnam. It's maybe more complex, but also potentially more rewarding than you might think. We've gathered some great insights, some real stories to, paint a picture of this unique landscape for you. Before we jump in though, quick shout out to our sponsor.
This deep dive was brought to you by ProCare Hanoi. They're the phone and laptop repair shop that so many in the expat community really trust. Fast service, clear communication, honest advice, basically everything you need when your tech decides to, overheat in the Hanoi humidity. They really do keep things running. And just a quick personal note from me, these deep dives are definitely a labor of love. If you found value in this one, or maybe any of the past ones, your support honestly keeps this whole thing going. Buy me a coffee is probably the easiest way to chip in and say thanks. And trust me, every single coffee really does help fuel the research and recording. You can just scan the QR code in the podcast cover art. Simple as that. And for those of you who've already supported seriously, a massive thank you.
You're really helping make this adventure of discovery possible. Okay, so our mission for today, we want to unpack the unique advantages, but also the surprising challenges of raising kids in Vietnam as an expat, and hopefully give you some actionable insights, whether you're just thinking about it or maybe you're already living it, ready to dive in. Right, let's start with the big question. When families think about moving abroad, Southeast Asia isn't always the first place that pops into their heads, is it? Maybe Europe, maybe North America, but Vietnam, and places like Hanoi especially, they seem to be becoming a real hot spot for expat families. What's driving that? What's the big attraction?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because on the surface, maybe it seems a bit unconventional, but Vietnam has some really compelling draws for families. First off, and this is often huge, is the affordable cost of living. It's just significantly lower than many Western countries.
Right.
So families often find they can afford, say, a bigger place to live, maybe international school fees that would be out of reach back home, even help around the house. It can be a real lifestyle shift.
Okay.
And then there's safety. Vietnam is generally considered a very safe place, which, for parents, that's paramount. It's a big weight off the mind. But it's not just about the practical stuff, the money and safety. There's also something deeper. Vietnamese culture has incredibly strong family values, and that's not just like an abstract idea. You see it every day. Children are really cherished. There's a lot of respect for elders. Multi-generational living is common. It creates this very warm, family-focused environment that a lot of expat parents find really appealing, especially if they're far from their own relatives.
That makes sense.
And added to that, we're seeing increasing access to good international education options. The infrastructure is catching up, offering more choice.
So you've got this mix, affordability, safety, that strong family culture, plus improving schools. It does sound pretty attractive on paper. But I wonder, is there a risk maybe of just living in an expat bubble, missing out on real integration? And, you mentioned advantages, but surely there are downsides too. What are the hurdles people don't always talk about?
That's a really good point about the bubble, and yeah, we can touch on that. But yes, definitely. While the pluses are clear, raising kids in a completely different culture, far from your support network, your family, it absolutely brings unique challenges. It's not all smooth sailing, As some of the parents we've spoken to discovered, it takes real adaptation for everyone involved.
Okay, so let's move from the general to the specific. What does this actually feel like for parents on the ground? Let's talk about Karen. She's from Canada, been in Hanoi for about 8 years now, and her son, who's 6, was actually born there. I imagine she must have had some worries starting out. What were her initial fears, and how did reality stack up?
Well, Karen said she was definitely nervous at first. Pretty standard worries, actually. What are the hospitals like? What about schools? Even just where do kids play?
Yeah, the basics.
Exactly, the fundamentals. But she was quite pleasantly surprised by how much Hanoi has changed. Even just in those 8 years, she found these bilingual kindergartens popping up, which offer a really nice mix, and modern pediatric clinics, often with English-speaking doctors, which is a huge relief.
Oh, definitely.
And for fun, loads of options now. Art classes, trampoline parks, indoor playgrounds. The city's really developed to cater to families.
That's reassuring to hear. But you mentioned it's not always easy. What were the things Karen found genuinely difficult? The sort of unexpected bumps?
She pointed to two main things, and they're quite common actually. The biggest for her, the language barrier. Her son's in a bilingual school, picking up Vietnamese brilliantly, but Karen herself isn't fluent.
Right.
And it's not just about, ordering coffee. It's feeling unable to properly communicate at, say, a doctor's visit for her son, or just feeling a bit excluded from conversations between Vietnamese parents at the playground. Those little moments, it can make you feel quite out of the loop.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
The other big one was cultural differences in parenting styles. Vietnamese culture, generally speaking, tends to be more protective of children.
How so?
Well, compared to maybe a Western focus on independence quite early on. So Karen noticed things like neighbors might gently comment if her son was playing outside alone, or even strangers offering advice on how he was dressed, like if he looked too hot or cold.
Oh, okay.
It's usually well-meaning, but it requires adjusting your own ideas about what's normal or right in parenting. It's a constant negotiation.
That sounds like it requires a lot of flexibility and understanding. Now, let's switch gears a bit. Let's bring in Tom's experience. He's from the UK, raising 2 teenagers in Hanoi. Teenagers.
Yeah.
That's a whole different ballgame, isn't it? Different worries than finding a kindergarten.
Oh, absolutely. Tom really highlighted that. He said, look, the international schools in Hanoi, they're fantastic, academically strong, great facilities, but they are seriously expensive. We're talking top schools like UNIS or BAI. The fees can easily be, 15, 20, even 30,000 US dollars per child per year.
Wow.
Yeah. So even if other living costs are lower, that school fee line item needs some serious financial planning. It's a major commitment.
Definitely something to factor in.
Yeah.
And with teenagers, identity becomes such a huge thing, doesn't it? It's sounds a bit messy. Did Tom see any unique challenges for his kids around their sense of self, being, raised between cultures?
He did. He described it as them sometimes feeling a bit unrooted. Like not fully Vietnamese, obviously, because they're foreign kids who grew up there.
Right.
But also not quite fully connected to their UK roots in the same way as kids raised entirely back home, maybe to the UK. And maybe they don't quite fit in perfectly there either.
That third culture kid idea.
Exactly. That feeling of being in between, trying to figure out where they belong, how to define themselves. It can be confusing for them, definitely.
It sounds really tough, emotionally complex for a young person.
Yeah.
Was there an upside, though? Did Tom see any unexpected positive outcomes from navigating all that? Maybe a silver lining?
Yes, actually, and this was something he really emphasized. He called it the global citizen aspect. He sees his kids developing these incredible skills. Real empathy, being incredibly adaptable, learning how to navigate different cultural cues, communicate across differences, things you just can't learn from a textbook. He sees it as a massive advantage for their future, preparing them for, an increasingly globalized world. He felt it was truly invaluable.
That's a fantastic perspective, a real long-term benefit. Okay, moving on slightly, let's talk more about the education system itself. You mentioned the growing options. It sounds like there's quite a range now in Vietnam.
There really is. It's changed a lot. You've got the public Vietnamese schools, full immersion, very affordable, but obviously a big language hurdle for most expat kids initially. Then you have international schools following different curricula, British, French, Korean, Singaporean, American, catering to various communities.
Okay.
Plus, you've got Montessori schools and, like we mentioned with Karen, a growing number of bilingual programs, which are becoming really popular. So yeah, lots of choice.
So how do parents even begin to choose? With all of those options, what are the main things they're typically weighing up?
Well, a lot depends on the family's plans. Many parents, especially if they think they might move again or eventually go back home, lean towards the big international schools.
For consistency, right?
Exactly. Curriculum consistency makes transitions much smoother. But the bilingual schools are often seen as a great compromise. Kids get strong Vietnamese language skills, integrate more, but still get elements of a Western-style education.
That sounds like a good balance.
It can be. But the key thing, practically speaking, is that the really sought-after schools like UNICE or BA often have long wait lists, sometimes years for certain grades.
Wow, years.
Yeah. And the fees, as Tom mentioned, are significant. So you need to plan ahead, apply early, and factor in the cost. It's not a last-minute decision.
That's crucial advice. Planning is key. Okay, beyond schools, what about community? When you move abroad, you leave your support network behind. How do foreign parents in Vietnam actually build that new village, that support system?
That's where the expat community really shines, especially in the bigger cities like Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City. It's very active. Facebook groups are huge. Honestly, they're indispensable. There are groups for everything, finding play dates, organizing meetups for moms, recommendations for doctors, tutors, after-school activities, even buying and selling baby stuff.
Like a virtual notice board and support group rolled into one.
Pretty much. It's often the first place new arrivals turn. And these online connections often turn into real-life friendships, people who get what you're going through.
That must be a lifesaver.
It really is.
I heard.
But it does take a bit of effort initially. You have to put yourself out there, join the groups, go to a meetup. But once you tack into it, there's a strong sense of shared experience and support.
That's really good to hear. So let's pull this together. For anyone listening who's maybe thinking about making this move or perhaps is already there and finding their feet, what are some key practical tips you'd offer based on everything we've discussed?
Okay, based on these experiences, I think 5 things really stand out. Number 1, join those local expat parenting groups ASAP. Seriously, don't wait. It's the quickest way to get practical advice, school tips, find friends for you and your kids. It's your lifeline. Number 2, try to learn some basic Vietnamese. Even just greetings, numbers, food words, it makes daily life so much easier. Ordering food, talking to a taxi driver, interacting with school staff or shopkeepers. It shows respect, and it really helps bridge small gaps.
Or it lowers the daily friction. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Third, respect the local culture and be observant. Watch how things are done. Ask questions politely if you're unsure. Adapt where you can to local norms, maybe around how kids dress or noise levels or eating customs. Just being open and respectful makes a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. Good advice anywhere, really.
Definitely. Fourth, think beyond just Hanoi or Saigon. While they're the big hubs, places like Da Nang or Hoi An are becoming really popular family spots. They often have a lower cost of living, a more relaxed pace, beautiful beaches, still with growing expat communities and amenities. Worth exploring other options. Good point. Broaden the map. And the last tip.
And finally, number 5, maybe the most important. Be patient with the process, with the country, with your kids, and definitely with yourself. Adjusting takes time. It can feel overwhelming at first. The heat, the traffic, the language, everything's different. Give it time. Allow everyone, including you, the space to adapt. Find your rhythm, build your new routines. It won't happen overnight.
That's really solid, grounded advice. So think about the big picture then. Raising kids abroad is obviously a massive undertaking. But it sounds like Vietnam offers something pretty special, a journey that's uniquely rewarding despite the challenges.
I think that's right. You find this genuinely warm culture, services that are modernizing quickly, and this ready-made community of other parents going through the same thing. It creates a really interesting, supportive, if sometimes complex, environment to raise a family.
And the impact on the kids themselves seems profound. Growing up adaptable, often bilingual, with this firsthand understanding of different cultures, that's a perspective that'll carry forever, isn't it? A true global outlook.
Absolutely. And maybe, a final thought to leave people with. If you connect this to the bigger picture, think about how navigating this new cultural context doesn't just shape your kids into these adaptable, resilient people. It also fundamentally reshapes your own ideas about what family means, what home means. It can challenge you and enrich you in ways you might not even expect. It's a journey for the whole family.
A really powerful thought. Thank you for tuning in to this deep dive on raising kids as a foreign parent in Vietnam. We really hope these stories and insights were helpful. If you found it valuable, maybe share it with someone else who's curious about this topic, or perhaps already on this adventure. And one last big thank you to our sponsor, ProCare Hanoi. Remember them if your phone or laptop needs some expert care. They speak your language and get the job done right. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.